How's it going? So, this is a talk on the spiritual ego. So, when we think of the ego, I often used to think, and a lot of people think of the ego as arrogance and the up. I am greater than, I am better than other people. But the ego can be up and down. So, if I think that I'm better than other people, I don't need to listen to other people, that's the ego. But if I also think I'm useless and other people have all the answers, that's the ego too. Neither are correct. Some of my own experience and my own answers are relevant, and to be weighed up and to be felt with the gut and the instinct of how they gel with other people's, or how other people's ideas and experiences sit with me. So the spiritual ego has those two dynamics and two sides. There are the wealthy, powerful gurus, and then there are Mother Teresa might fall into it, people who want to beat themselves and humble themselves and live in poverty and, you know, give up all possessions for God and all that kind of thing. And it's just another it's another way of indulging the ego. Poor me, I'm the martyr. It's the ego again. It's the same thing. It has a different perception to the world and a different effect on the world, but it creates the same experience and the same defeat within the person. So to feed that arrogance is fake. It's false. It's avoiding who we are, or our spirit, or our instinct, or higher guidance, and also to beat ourselves up and think that, for God I have to, live on water and be poor, and we must be humble and suffer. That's the same thing. It's actually the spirit doesn't need that. If there is a God doesn't want us. I don't believe God wants us to be poor and scraping through the streets, you know, living on beans and giving away all our possessions. If you want to give away your possessions, there might be other benefits in that, but it can also be used for, say, attention seeking. Look at me, I'm such a martyr, or as a means to beat ourselves, which is self defeat and self destruction and sabotage. It's the ego. So the ego comes from insecurity. My own ego is at its strongest when I am at my weakest. It can pop up when I least expect it, or I can be having a bad day and I know to watch myself what's going to happen. But it can slip in, and then before I know it, I'm in a discussion or an argument, and I'm I'm wondering, how did I get here? And you may find yourself, it's like, how the fuck did I, why am I talking to this person? Not only why am I talking to this person, why am I, it's like I'm up in the sky. I'm up at the room, in the ceiling in the room, looking down at myself, going, why are you, why are you trying to win an argument on fucking meditation or on whatever? Who cares? It doesn't matter, But then me in the body is, I have to win this, I'm greater than this person. And what's kind of funny is when I step back, and if I was, say, Deepak Chopra, or I was Gandhi, or Eckhart Tolle, or the Maharishi Yogi, or some great being, these people have something to fight for, and they have a huge following and public image. You can kind of understand, you know, the irony, I suppose, is that they have this public image. The more contained their ego is. Now, obviously, there are some names in that they all have egos, and they all have degrees of, right. So let's not get into that. But it's like when you see me, or you, or any of us, and we're on the internet, or we're in a supermarket, and we're having a discussion over where the fucking beans are. You got to think, does this matter? Is this, do I really need to win this argument? Is it so important to decide where the beans should be in the supermarket? You know, This this is not an actual case history. It's not actual experience, for the record, that I can remember. Not in this life, anyway. So it's interesting in spirituality because obviously, in modern day spirituality, we are, and I say we because and if you're listening to this, perhaps you, we're seekers. And we're seeking because there's something missing, because we're perhaps unhappy, or there's a void, or there's the hole in the soul, or we're looking for something more. We want to be more fulfilled. So then when we get a glimpse of it, we're suddenly fucking fulfilled, even for a moment. There's a bit of happiness, a bit of understanding. A friend used to say to me, why wouldn't you be? Many in the world are lost, and that when we do get a glimpse of what we think is going on, or what we think works for us, why wouldn't we be arrogant? It's understandable. I suppose the point is he was making was, to not then turn around and beat myself with the stick and go, I'm so arrogant, because that's just, there's no growth in that either. It's to observe it and step back from it. And really, when the ego is strong, for me, is when I most need the void. I most need to create that space and not know anything. So if I'm having a discussion with someone, and even though I might discard what their point is, and I know that it doesn't suit me, Islam is great, and I'm thinking, nah, it's not for me, or Christianity, Judaism, or whatever else, it's not for me, thanks. I can just let go, if I can just let go and allow them their space to say whatever they have to say, and agree or disagree and let go. There's nothing there. There's a space. There's a space for intuition or instinct, or a new idea, or a new thought, or a new feeling, or maybe just respect. Maybe just to respect that person's belief and walk away. Simple as that, rather than needing to be something or say something or play some sort of role. See, the ego really needs information. What I consider the most important video that I've made, and one of the most unlistened to, is called The Destruction of the Intellect. The intellect is masculine, and we now have a lot of spiritual people seeking, like the conspiracy theorists, seeking information. Information doesn't grant enlightenment. A lot of people with a lot of information and great minds ended up in madhouses. The intellect won't save us. It won't grant us enlightenment. It's nothing to do with enlightenment. It's just information. So the ego can then attach itself and become founded on intellect and founded on information. There can be gems of information, say in this video or in other videos or books or whatever, and you walk away with it and you think that was interesting and you ponder it, but the purpose is not to attach to the information. The purpose is for an alchemical reaction. I've said before, and these videos are for resonance. It's to try and cause an alchemical change in people who are seeking it or who are ready for it, not for a collection of bullet points that you can regurgitate down the pub or against, for whoever else, or argue back at me or anyone else. That's not the purpose. It's to trigger the mind and the being to ignite or see the world differently. That's what we're seeking, not information. There's libraries full of information. If you're seeking information, I'm the wrong guy. Go to your local library. You'll find a lot more fascinating details. So some of these great minds that have gone before, even great scientists, it wasn't the greatest scientists or greatest minds were aware that some of their ingenious ideas came from beyond them, from through that keyhole of inspiration, that it's not a case of learning theorems and statistics and then you will regurgitate or spew up the theory of relativity or the cure for cancer or whatever. There's a bit of magic in there. So they knew to create that space. They knew to be able to allow that magic to come through. But nowadays, a lot of people miss out on the magic. They just kind of think, well, if I read more books, if I get more degrees, if I watch more YouTube videos, if I learn more details of conspiracies or whatever, and I accumulate all this canon of information. But there's more beyond the canon of information. There's magic, for want of a better word, that can come through you. There's new ideas. That the people who are most successful with this are not the people who are regurgitating facts and figures. Some of them are. If you sit and you can kind of connect to your gut with them, you'll kind of feel that they're a bit flat. They're just regurgitating facts and figures. They're not adding anything new. They don't have anything new to add. They're not seeking anything new. They're good researchers, and they can put shit together, and they can give you a PowerPoint presentation, and it might be interesting and it might be informative, but they don't add anything new to it. They can't find it. They don't know where to get it. They don't know how to access it. So, as I've said as well before, that we are a chemistry set. The body needs to be fed. It's hungry for food, for its needs, for love, for sex, for chemicals, and we're all addicts as well. Driving too fast, arguing with people, whatever it may be. It could be destructive. Well, they're nearly all destructive, but it releases a chemical reaction that the body absorbs. The mind, the brain triggers, ignites, bang. We get our hit of rage or outrage or depression, whatever it is, control, power, success, money, whatever it is. Our brain is naturally seeking this. If we keep feeding it these things, it will keep seeking out opportunities. So then you're in the aisle looking for your beans and your brain decides, I need a fucking hit of power, I need to demean somebody. And we're not even aware, but there's a victim. There's someone it'll seek out to have an argument with. These are just neuronet. They're neuro pathways in the brain that it's like going to work. As we keep going down the same pathways, down the same motorways again and again, we're unconscious. You're driving to work and you're half asleep and you don't remember how you got there, but you've just gone the same route for the last few years. You take the same route every day, so you're unconscious. It's the same in the brain. And all these things fire and they give us our chemicals and so on. When we become conscious and we go, hang on a second, I don't want the outrage. I don't want the arrogance. I don't want the self-destructive, demeaning martyr either. We can observe and go, oh, hang on a second. I'm not going to engage with this person. But I will say there's nothing wrong with it either. As I've said before, there is good, not so good. There's not good and bad. It's a learning experience. Eventually we get exhausted by these behaviors, like the addict and drugs or alcohol, and we think, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. There's no attraction. There's no hit. There's no enjoyment. And we're defeated. We're broken down. So that eventually does happen to all of us regularly, with relationships we move on from, or jobs or behaviors that we eventually just retire. It is interesting in the spiritual world because, the ego is kind of allowed in, say, sports. You have the huge sports stars or film stars, but then in the spiritual world, it's the same thing. We all have it. I won't name names, but there are the gurus out there writing books and on TV shows and running yoga classes and all the rest of it who have huge egos. But it's okay, it'll run its course and they'll be broken down eventually. And I think to finish up as well, we're only aware as much as we're aware, if that makes sense. So it's more will be revealed. Bit by bit, we'll look at ourselves, we look back at ourselves differently and go, whew, I wasn't aware of that 3 years ago or 3 weeks ago. More will be revealed bit by bit. You can't skip the learning process. You have to go through it and then learn from it, as uncomfortable as that may be. So I hope that was of interest. Please like, subscribe. Please sign up to my newsletter. There's a link below. Usually in the newsletter, there's a bit more information, stuff I wouldn't put in videos, courses I'm doing, different insights, links to articles, links to videos, that kind of thing. And have a good one. Thanks for listening.